Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Millard with the Greater Akron Chamber, and I'm really happy that you've all decided to join us here today to talk about a topic I think you're going to find interesting and hopefully also valuable for your company. We're going to talk today about micro-internships and how these unique project-based outcome-oriented opportunities are creating a modern, accessible, practical approach to internships and experiential learning. At the Chamber, we know that employers recognize the value and the importance of experiential learning and how it helps to educate and connect and even recruit people to work for their businesses. We also know, talking to our members, that, and the organizations in our region, there are a lot of places where you can find interns and resources and different kinds of opportunities to engage people in efforts to learn a little bit on the job and earn and learn and kind of get to that next level of development. But there's no great one place to find these resources. And so one of the things in our recent strategy revision that we did a few months ago is to think about how we become a better resource to connect the dots on these opportunities for employers between where the students are, the jobs that are out there, the learning opportunities that exist, the skills that are needed, and the needs of employers. So we think today's topic is one of those areas that if we can get some more information out about what we're offering here and what's available in this space, it might be a solution to some of the difficulties that you might have as an employer. And this micro-internship program is a unique approach to internships. It's going to give you, I think, a good platform from which you can engage talent no matter the shape, size, or industry of your business. You're not too small to have a micro-internship. You're not too large to have a micro-internship available for folks. It's just a different way of engaging people in experiential learning and creating value for your company. As a way of jumpstarting this and more engagement by companies in this space, we're going to be providing some support, $250 subsidy for any member business for your first micro-internship. And we'll talk more about that later on in the webinar today. So I hope you're going to find this is an interesting opportunity to get a little help for your business, engage some talent in the region, and think about new ways to do this for your company. Before we get started and I turn things over to our guest speaker, just a few housekeeping items. During this Zoom webinar, you're not going to be able to turn on your video or microphone, but you'll be able to chat and ask questions in the Q&A window in the chat function. To access either of those, just click on the Q&A icon or the chat icon located either at the top or bottom of your screen. If you need any technical assistance at all throughout the webinar, or need to get in touch with one of our team that's monitoring it, feel free to chat directly to Greater Akron Chamber, and a member of our team will assist you. So at this time, we're ready to begin. To kick things off, I'd like to turn things over to Jeffrey Moss, President and CEO of Parker Dewey, who's going to share more about the program we put together and the experiences that have been created as they've brought this resource to employers. Jeffrey, thanks for your partnership in this. Thanks for the work we've been doing together over the last year or so in this space or more. And the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Steve, and really appreciate the thoughtful introduction. I think you hit the nail on the head. How can companies create more opportunities for students to get valuable experiences, but also do so in a way that it helps the companies, helps them both with immediate support on projects that come up, but also helps them identify, engage, assess, and ultimately hire individuals for full-time roles or summer internships or any other positions that may exist, and do so in a way that's scalable and flexible. So excited to present. So real quickly, by background, what is Parker Dewey? We were a mission-driven organization that was founded about 7 years ago, and we've created a platform that facilitates these micro-internships to really help organizations of all sizes both improve their early career hiring efforts, but also get immediate support for busy professionals. And we'll talk more about what a micro-internship is in a second. One thing to highlight is micro-internships are not some newfangled thing that was a response to COVID. This is something that we pioneered, again, about 7 years ago, and is used by companies of all sizes. And we have some of the big names listed here who have publicly talked about their use of micro-internships to help them with campus recruiting and on-demand support. But actually, the vast majority of organizations we work with are smaller, less well-known companies. We're also really proud of the partnerships we have with colleges and universities, such as the University of Akron. What a great opportunity to help their students gain these valuable experiences and learn about companies. But what's also really nice is the reach is national. It helps individuals who attend university elsewhere, the student who grew up in the Akron area but goes to school in Boston or Colorado or California or Texas, who would love to return home upon graduation. This provides him or her with exposure to great companies in Akron that they may not be aware of or otherwise considering. And then obviously have partnered with a number of nonprofit organizations really about how to create more equity and diversity in supporting the recruiting and hiring process of companies.
Jeffrey, let me ask you a question. I just want to clarify on that because I
Sure.
think you made an important point there. Even though we've got some universities in the space like University of Akron and others, if you are an employer and you're looking for a certain skill set, the folks that could apply to that could be coming from anywhere across the country because some of these internships can be done sort of remotely and those kinds of things as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. So what we found is, again, since pioneering this concept, about 96, 97% of the micro-internships are completed remotely. And again, it's not because of COVID or anything. What companies have found is everyone has these little projects on their plate that they just don't have time for. Small, bite-sized, 5, 10, 20-hour projects. We're going to a conference next week and we need help crunching the list. We want to create a blog article that we can put on our website. We want to update some client case studies or success stories. All of these, again, 5, 10, 20, 30-hour projects that you don't have time for or may not be the best use of time for an existing employee, or the existing team doesn't have the skill set. You don't have people that are skilled in using Adobe, Canvas, and other fancy graphics programs. And I'm clearly not familiar with them. Well, what a great opportunity to give them to college students. And to your point, it doesn't really matter where that college student is located, whether they're in Akron or whether they're in Chicago or San Diego or anywhere else. But the other point is also you're able to reach the students who may want to return home upon graduation. Again, building that relationship, the student who wants to do the summer internship on site in Akron or the full-time role on site in Akron upon graduation, here's a way to build that relationship with the individual and give them exposure to your company or your industry or your role, including students who may not be thinking about your industry. The student who wants to do technology but thinks he or she has to go to Silicon Valley to do it and doesn't realize what type of technology needs or opportunities are available in Akron. Or the student that wants to do consumer packaged goods work and thinks they have to go work for P&G or Pepsi, but doesn't realize there's opportunities in the CPG space in Akron, or to do marketing or branding. Again, what great opportunities to give that student that exposure and expand the reach, even if you don't have the budget of the big guys to go visit 1,000 different colleges and participate in their career fairs. So the micro internships themselves, and I'm sort of hitting on this, short-term paid professional projects completed by college students or recent grads on behalf of busy professionals. So again, just to unpack that a bit, short-term meaning, as I alluded to, think 5, 10, 20, 40 hours of work, not per day or per week, but in total. So again, things like we need help with lead generation. We want someone to go identify 50 companies in a given space and for each one, pull this data. We need help updating our website. We need help revising case studies. All of these bite-sized projects that you would normally give to a new hire or summer intern are absolutely perfect. They tend to be due if, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I
No,
wanted
please.
to clarify because I think one of the things that's important about that is I find often, especially with small and mid-sized businesses, the idea of having an intern is somewhat daunting because it's one more person to manage and supervise, or how do I structure the project, or what do I make it look like? And so one of the things I love about the way you guys have approached this is you got some very specific kinds of things that are pretty turnkey. And I don't know if you also provide project descriptions or help folks design those projects, but it looks like your next slide is going to talk about some of the structure of the projects.
No, you're a perfect straight man. Thanks for teeing that up. No, it's great. Again, yeah, part of what we designed when we launched this was it had to be easy. It had to be simple, or as the team internally jokes around, it has to be Jeff proof. If Jeff wouldn't do it, if it would create friction and frustrate Jeff, then let's fix it. So everything we've done is designed to be easy. This isn't adding to your managerial responsibilities. It's not something that's going to take you 5 hours to go manage a micro intern when you could do it yourself in 5 hours. The whole goal is easy. So part of what you were able to do, and I'll show you some examples as we go through, is we've actually pre-crafted templates with examples of micro internships, things that in under a minute you can have posted and pick a student that day or the next day and they do the work. You're not managing them, you're not providing the oversight. So for instance, I just used a micro intern to help me with a project. I need help writing an article. So I posted my project, picked the student, had a quick 5-minute phone call with the student, said, this is generally what I have in mind. Student asked a couple of questions, great. The next day I got an outline saying, this is what I'm thinking about, gave a couple of points of feedback, and then he went and drafted the article. Got a draft 48 hours later, again, had a couple of nits, and that was it. I probably spent a grand total of 30 minutes getting an article written, an article that probably would have taken me 5 hours to write. Between doing all the research and pulling the data and everything else, I had a college student do it. And by the way, the writing was a hell of a lot better than mine. I was a finance major. My writing skills are horrible. We had a college student do it who I think was an English or a history major who could research and write a hell of a lot better than I could. But again, it was easy. And again, that's one of the things we talk about, these fast facts about micro internships. Everything goes back to making it easy. So these are projects that are due a few days to a few weeks out. You're not thinking about, well, what do I really need done next September or next summer or over winter break? These are, I need to get this article written and it's due a week from now. Let me have a micro intern help. I'm going to a conference. Let me have a micro intern help crunch the list. You set the cost for each of these projects. And again, we provide recommendations, but they're all fixed fee. Again, back to how we make it easy. There's no back and forth negotiation or bidding, or do I take the kid who has the low cost or the high cost? Again, everything is designed to be simple. It's a fixed fee, not hourly. That way, again, you're not arguing about, well, the student said it took 20 hours. It should have taken them 15. I don't want to pay for 20. Again, really, really simple. 90% of that goes to the student. Parker Dewey does retain 10%. And the reason we do that, again, goes back to the ease. That if Steve picked Jeff to work on the micro internship for him, Jeff is not actually Steve's employee. He's not on Steve's books. He's not even Steve's contractor, so there's no W-2 or 1099. Jeff actually is an employee or contractor of Parker Dewey. He's on our books, which means that from your perspective, it's as easy as a credit card swipe. And then, by the way, if you decide that Jeff is someone who you want to bring in for a summer internship or a full-time role or anything else, there's no conversion or temp to perm fee. We're not a staffing firm. Again, it's how do you create these equitable pathways?
So let me underline a couple of those things, Jeff.
Yeah,
because I
please.
think they're important. So we had an experience using a micro intern. We've done a few of them, and I was totally blown away by how fast and easy the process was. We had some data from a report. We wanted to create some graphics and infographic around it, and literally within a week, we had a draft product to look at, and it was well done. And the other thing I thought was interesting with the intern was, I mean, for them, a big part was adding to their portfolio and their resume, if you will. So the money was good for them, but they were really willing to do the work and continue to iterate on the work. And we used far less than the full 20 hours, I think, because she was so efficient, quite frankly. But it was worth every penny of that few $100 that we spent in the process. So that speed is key, and I do think it's the ability to sort of then talk to the intern after, because as you said, and I want to make sure I understand, if I decide I wanted to pick up the phone and call her again, I could do that, right? I'm not restricted from talking to those folks.
You're not restricted from talking to them, hiring them, or anything else. It's not like the gig economy sites where they want to keep everyone there and continue to make, like, our goal, to be very direct, is to get the students off our site. We want them to land the right full-time role or summer internship or anything else, because guess what? There's millions of new college students who are starting every year who are hungry for these experiences. So we don't want to create a disincentive of a company to go hire. We don't want a company to say, oh, you know, I was going to hire Jeff, but I have to pay some staffing firm $5,000 or 10 grand. Like, let's go look at someone. Like, that's not our goal. Our goal is to have this lead to love connections, if you will, that could be those full-time roles. You're also bringing up another really, really important point, Steve, which is we have seen over 98% of the micro internships exceed the expectations of the clients. 98%. The reason is, yeah, the student's getting paid, but they're more interested in demonstrating their skills and building their resume and having Steve as a reference for something down the road, or maybe there's a full-time role with Steve's organization in the future. They're inherently motivated, and
Yeah, it's funny. I
everything is
think for our
designed.
intern, she ended up continuing to do work for our marketing company. Marketing company we work with discovered, has helped us manage her through the internship. And I
Oh,
believe
that's
she's
awesome.
been doing some freelance work for that marketing company on and off over time. So that's a neat way of connecting the dots.
Oh, I think I know who it is. I think she's done work for us too with some of the infograph. Like, again, it's amazing because, by the way, we don't have a full-time sort of marketing graphic design person. We have a marketing team, but their skill set isn't in creating infographics and other type of heavy design things. Let's use a micro intern for it. And the ROI is incredible. The students are also under NDA. They assign all of the work to you, et cetera, et cetera. Again, everything is Jeff proof. We want to make it really, really easy. Again, for those companies that are thinking about campus recruiting and how do you bring in entry-level talent, again, beyond the immediate support on the projects, it provides a really great way of accessing the students. Again, reaching students who might not be aware of your company, either because it's a less well-known brand, or maybe they're attending schools elsewhere. It's a great way of engaging them, building those relationships with students to help them experience what your organization's like. And then also to assess them. Again, we talk about 98% of the projects exceeding expectations. Do you know what? There's still 2% where maybe the student doesn't do as great of a job. It happens. It happens. But what we hear from the companies time and time and time again is, gosh, that may have been someone I would have hired for a full-time role. Someone with an amazing resume and a high GPA, but when they actually did the project, maybe their skill set wasn't there, or maybe it wasn't the right fit. Maybe they were really great in the project, but it was the wrong industry, or there was just the wrong fit. That's okay. Better to figure it out now than when you bring someone in for a summer internship or a full-time role.
Yeah, I was going to say a few $100 is a low price to pay versus committing to somebody for 3-4 months and they don't cut it.
Yeah, I mean, we've all made bad hires in our career. I mean, I'm certainly guilty of it. Every boss that's ever hired me has made a bad hire.
I wondered if you're going to say that.
Oh, now you're beating now. But it's you don't know. I mean, you spend a couple of hours in interviews and everything else, only to figure out when they start that the fit's not there. Again, this teases it out even before companies are doing interviews. We're finding more and more organizations are using this at the very top of the funnel. So before we commit to having someone go and do interviews or flipping through resumes or anything else, let's see how they do on the project. Are they showing attention to detail and communication skills and problem solving and grit and everything else we look for? So how does this all work? Well, in short, it's really easy. Again, back to how we make everything Jeff proof. Post your project, pick who you want, and the work gets done. And we'll walk through this in more detail. By the way, Parker Dewey's here behind the scenes every step of the way. We're here if you have questions with posting your project, if you need help engaging other parties, whether it's within your organization or outside, we can help even in selecting students. So it's pretty easy. And then we handle all of the payroll and student support and everything else. Again, everything is designed to be easy. So one of the things we did was we created an internal portal for the Greater Akron Chamber that has some of those most popular micro internships. Steve, back to your point before, these are projects that we've seen over and over and over again that are common. And these are all pre-crafted. So if you visit the website, and I think someone can include it in the chat, you can go through and click any of these projects. And in a minute, it'll be posted. We need help with lead generation. Click. Your project is posted. You can revise it, you can edit it, you can tweak it, but it has all of the best practices. We suggest posting these about 24, 48 hours before you want to kick them off. So again, you don't need a long lead time. In fact, I was doing a demonstration for a company yesterday, and we posted a project, and literally before we were done doing the demo, she had 3 applicants, all of whom were pretty strong. So again, think about 24 to 48 hours, we always suggest. And again, we have a client success team if you have questions. Because again, we've been doing this a long time. We tried to pick some of the most common ones for this portal, but we have thousands of these behind the scenes if you don't see something you want or you don't want to do it yourself. Happy to help.
And your team will help me think through it if I can't quite find the right thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, one of the things we found is when you look at the portal, a lot of times it teases out new ideas. Oh yeah, we need a marketing project like X. I hadn't thought about that. Or we kind of sort of think we need help with a strategy assignment. We're not sure what it looks like. Again, our client success team is happy to help. We've been doing this a long time, so we're happy to go through. Once the project is posted, the students apply. So again, you're not having to flip through resumes of thousands of people who may or may not be interested. The students see the projects that are available. They see the description, they see the start date and due date and all of the other info. If they're interested, they apply. If not, they don't. Now, one of the neat things we can do behind the scenes is make sure we're engaging the students that you're most interested in. So students with ties to the Akron community, whether they go to school there or not. Or maybe you're a University of Akron alum and you'd love to post a micro internship as a way to, get some help, but also give back to the school and support the student that's there. Great. Let's make sure, and we handle all of this, we'll make sure that the University of Akron students are seeing it and it's at the top of the list.
So Jeff, let me just ask a question on that. So
please,
we've got folks who have relationships with, and we have a lot of support from people like Kent State University and from Walsh or Stark State, et cetera. This isn't limited just to schools that partner with you. Is that right? Like, how do students get access to the portal so that they can sort of look at these opportunities?
Correct. We have since day one been an open platform.
Okay.
We are accessible for college students and recent grads from any college, university, other non-traditional post-secondary program, boot camps and the like across the country. Again, we didn't want students to be at a disadvantage if their school didn't partner with us. Now, we are super proud of the 500 plus post-secondary institutions with which we have formal partnerships, including, you mentioned Penn State. We're super proud of that, and we love collaborating with the schools. And by the way, there's no cost or fee to the schools either of the partnership, just to be very clear. And we love working with them. And a lot of those schools are doing very proactive efforts. University of Akron, again, great example, where we're actively working with them to give them data about the students and employers, and there's a ton of collaboration. But to your point, it's open to everyone. So yes, if I am a University of Akron alum and I exclusively want that project available for University of Akron students, you can certainly do that. But by default, it's open to everyone.
Good. That's helpful. Thank you.
No problem. Once the project is posted, again, the students see it and they apply. The companies then get to go through and pick who they want. We are not guessing who is the best person for your project. You might tell us beforehand, yeah, we only want marketing students because it's a marketing project. And if we were picking for you, we would have filtered out the marketing students. But like my example before, I had a marketing project, but gosh, there was an English or history major who was perfect for it. So we want to drive that exploration, if you will, but we don't want it to be overwhelming, which is why, again, you only see those students who apply. You'll see where they go to school and you can pull their resume and everything else. But most importantly, every project has at least one short answer question. Why should we pick you? Now, you can ask other questions as well. How would you approach this? Why does this interest you? Again, anything you want. What we found, though, is these short answer questions tell you so much about a candidate and are vital in making that decision. So the student who writes, you should pick me because I have free time. Guess what? Don't pick that student. The student whose answer is riddled with typos. Again, don't pick that student. We see this stuff. The student with the perfect resume because it's been reviewed and scrubbed by everyone at their career services department, but doesn't have that attention to detail. These short answer questions tease that stuff out. And it takes less time to flip through than a resume, but you get to pick who you want. Once you select the student, the work gets done. Again, back to your earlier point, Steve, you engage the way you want. So you want to have a quick phone call or Zoom to kick it off. Great. You want to just send an email saying, here's the list. I need you to pull this data. Great. It's up to you. The goal is not to add to your workload, but to make your life easier. Behind the scenes, Parker Dewey is providing all of this ongoing support, as we mentioned. So if there's any hiccups along the way, you let us know. We have a team that will handle it. And again, fortunately, it happens less than 2% of the time. But even if you just have questions or unsure, again, our client success team is around, and they're all based here in the US. Everyone is inherently motivated to the earlier point. So again, which is why we see this high success rate, because the students are doing it because they want to prove themselves and build the resume and build relationships. And then one of the other things to note is while Parker Dewey provides supports for the students are also getting supports from other places. They're reaching out to alumni at their schools for insights. They're going to professors' office hours. They have access to all of these different tools as students and research things. So they're really able to do a great job on these projects. And that's why it works. I mean, everyone wins. For the busy professional, for the person with too much work on his or her plate, overwhelmed with those we should and I shouldn't projects, this gives them on-demand support year-round without that commitment of, I'm not sure if I need someone for 10 weeks or a full-time hire. Well, here's a way to get that help as you need it. And then also the opportunity to give back. Again, you want to support someone from your school or from a different background or anything else. What a great opportunity to do it. The students value the experience beyond getting paid, and the pay is important to make sure everyone has opportunity to do it. But beyond the pay, the students are getting invaluable experiences that change their lives and change their careers. And then obviously those focused on recruiting, again, they appreciate it. Here's a way to reach students who might not be applying to our jobs, or engage students from different geographies, or see them in action, or look beyond traditional recruiting funnels. Again, really to drive diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the impact is real. I mean, one of the things we've seen over the past 7 years is over 80% of the students who complete micro-internships come from underrepresented populations. So for any of the organizations focused on creating more equitable pathways or ensuring they're really doing as much as they want to around diversity, equity, and inclusion, what a great opportunity. But it's not charity. Again, this is real work and adds real value. And what it does is it leads to better hiring outcomes. I mean, the cost per hire compared to the NACE average of about $6,000, we found that micro-internships, when they're being used as part of a hiring strategy, lead to a 40 to 80% lower cost. And by the way, there's better retention. So the data shows that 55% of all recent college grads leave their first job within the first year. So companies spend $5-6,000 recruiting, exponential numbers of hours interviewing and onboarding and training, and 55% of them leave. In contrast, those who complete micro-internships, that number is less than 2%. Did you have a question, Steve, or a comment?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, these numbers are pretty impressive. If, you know, I mean, if you look at the impact on your long-term talent development, recruiting costs, and strategy, just that retention number alone, Jeffrey, is one to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's off the charts. And part of the reason is the students who are doing micro-internships have that chance to do the exploration before they take that first job. Now, I know my summer internship when I was in college was at Coopers and Lybrand. I'm old. It was back when PwC was still 2 companies. And in the first week, I realized probably don't want to be a public accountant. Wasn't the right fit for me. And meanwhile, they were stuck with me and I was stuck there for the next 9 weeks, nothing against PwC, but it just wasn't the right fit. And that was a waste for them. And you think about how much money they spend and how I took up the seat of like, this lets students do that exploration before taking their summer internship or their full-time role, which means when they get approached by someone else, they're not job hopping because they know your organization's the right fit.
Goes back again to how you talked about using this at the top of the funnel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the experiences are real. And again, back to the comment before about everyone wins. I mean, the students talk time and time and time again about how this changes their life. I mean, this is from the employer perspective. We're able to find candidates who weren't considering our industry. Well, the flip side is this helped a college student find the right job. Or we saw her skills, which weren't apparent from her major as a humanities major. Well, again, the flip side is now they've given an opportunity to a student that otherwise would have been filtered out. So again, this is real. And again, we highlight big companies here because, I mean, candidly, they have shared their name publicly, and we don't share any client names unless they talk about us, and these big companies have. But M. Holland's actually a great example. It's a big company in the plastic space, but I know I hadn't heard of it before they started working with us. Other college students probably hadn't heard of it, but they had some great roles in technology and supply chain and HR and finance and IT. This was a way for them to access students who ultimately turned into full-time hires, and really gives them a competitive advantage, whether it's around building brand on campus, whether it's around driving conversion, improving diversity, assessing fit, lowering cost per hire. Again, everyone wins. So how do you introduce this within companies? Again, few ways we've seen. First of all, think about projects you have on your own plate, things that you're just busy. You don't have time to get to those we should or I shouldn't projects. But other ways, think about teams that are hiring, teams that are looking to bring people in. Maybe it's taking longer than they expect to find the people. Or maybe they're thinking about hiring, but they're not sure they need someone. What a great way to dip their toe in the water. For those organizations that have employee resource groups or business resource groups, we've been doing a ton around this, where they're offering micro-internships to members of those groups as a perk. And what it's doing is, beyond supporting the existing employees, it's creating this great pipeline of individuals from diverse and underrepresented backgrounds. Freelance users, you may have people in your organization already on the freelance sites. Well, as opposed to sending the work overseas or not getting the benefit from a campus recruiting perspective, here's a great opportunity for them to not only continue to get support on those freelance projects, but also help sort of build the relationships and support full-time hiring. And then obviously the university alumni and fans. So you talked about Penn State. If you have someone at your company that went to Penn State, we know those Nittany Lions are rabid fans. What a great opportunity for them to give back.
So Jeffrey, I got to tell you, I'm just to keep my own job. I was talking about Kent State, not Penn
Oh, I thought you
State.
said Penn State.
Well,
no,
that's
sorry.
okay. I know I didn't enunciate, but to all my friends at Kent State, we aren't working with Penn State on this stuff. Just want to make sure they're aware of that.
Sorry. We do work with Kent State also.
There we go.
But again, we are open. We welcome any college or university. I went to Indiana. So, and I'm still happy to work with the folks at Purdue. And my colleague,
Absolutely.
Kristen, who's on the call, is an Ohio State grad, a double Buckeye nonetheless. And she still works with the folks at Michigan. Maybe she holds her nose, but she works with them. And
I'm sure she does.
And we have another one of my colleagues is a Kent State alum. So we are well represented. So sorry about that. So what now? Host a project. Again, think about something you have on your own plate. And as Steve will talk about in a second, the Greater Akron Chamber is making it especially easy. Let your colleague know. Next time one of your colleagues walks into your office, whether it's physical or virtual, and says, "Ugh, I have so much to get done before the weekend," or "I'm just overwhelmed," let them know they can work with a micro intern. What a great way to get some help. And then obviously we work with companies in doing programs with them when they're trying to build this into campus recruiting. With that, I'm going to take a breath because that was way too much talking, and turn it back over to Steve.
Thanks, Jeff and Jeffrey. And I think there's a number of questions that we have received here that I want to just run through real quick. We'll do kind of a speed round here, but you talked about diversity a couple of times. Talk about how this tool allows companies to be intentional in reaching diverse talent. Can I kind of select, certain groups or certain kinds of diverse students as I look at things?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. So obviously for legal reasons, you can't say, I only want this open to people from certain backgrounds. But what companies can do is they can tie in through some of our relationships with various schools and affiliations. So for instance, if your organization is very focused on increasing diversity tied to first generation college students, when you post a project, you can make it available for just Dell scholars who are all first gen students. Or if it's open to everyone, you can always filter once you see all the candidates and say, maybe I have a preference for first gen. Let me put Dell scholars in that preference category, or any others. We want to do more with DACA students. Great, let's select individuals who are part of the DREAM, which is a great program for, again, DACA students. So you have the ability to do that and be intentional. And then you can also do things, again, tied to the HBCUs and other programs. So yeah, we see a lot of intentionality around driving more diversity. That also ties back to the ERGs. Again, one of the things that we've seen, as I alluded to, is members of ERGs are being given this as a perk. And what's great about it is not only do the members of the ERG appreciate the perk to get some work done, they see the company is making a authentic, real commitment to creating equitable pathways. They're also building relationships with students from backgrounds similar to their own. And for the students themselves, what a great way to see that this company really cares about diversity. It's more than just wearing the t-shirt or hanging the banner or using the stock photo on the website. They're actually building real relationships with hiring managers from backgrounds like their own.
Well, it sounds like your team is willing to help folks identify these different areas to pools deficient as well. So if you're a business and you bring a micro intern on, what are some of the risks? Let's say an intern just kind of checks out on you, doesn't finish the work or breaches confidentiality, something like that. How do you guys intervene there, or what can I expect as an employer in those situations?
Yeah, I want to separate out the two different issues you brought in. First of all, the
Yeah.
confidentiality we take deadly serious. In 7 years of doing it, we have had 0 issues. We are very, very transparent with the students that they are risking not just the normal stuff tied to non-disclosure agreements, but kicked out of school, transcript pulled, because it's violation of academic standards. That said, we also suggest that the projects given to the students are not the company projects. So when we work with financial services institutions, they're not sending spreadsheets with social security numbers and other PII. Like, be smart about it. But we've done some stuff that's pretty sensitive. I mean, public M&A transactions that micro interns have supported on. But again, we take that stuff very, very seriously. If there are hiccups along the way, we will intervene. So the student ghosts on you, or a weekend just the work product isn't there, you're concerned, send us an email. We will jump in immediately. We guarantee the outcomes of all projects. So Jeff does the project for you and it's not a good job, we'll either just refund you or you pick someone else. Again, it happens so infrequently, and it typically happens at the very beginning, where Jeff gets picked for a project and maybe he realizes that, oh, I just don't have time to do this, or my skill set isn't right. I thought I was better at Excel than I am. Again, typically happens day 1 or day 2, and the company just picks someone else. But again, it's very, very infrequent. But we're here and we make it right.
Sounds like you standing behind it, which is really important in this process. So you talked about some of these internships being, or a lot of them being, remote. If I'm an employer and I want it done on location, is that something I can request or be specific about?
Yes. So when you post a project, you can post it for being on site. To be blunt, again, we strongly recommend not doing it because it limits the pool of talent. So even if I'm in Akron and I pick a student who goes to University of Akron, well, guess what? They might not have time to be in your office during certain hours because they're taking classes, for instance. But yes, every now and then there are projects that require someone to be on site. 100% specify that. Just want to make sure we're transparent. Also, when it comes to on-site, I also want to make clear the types of projects these are. So for instance, an on-site project where you want a student working with a piece of heavy machinery, not a good micro internship. Be shocked by some of the stuff we have. On-site for someone playing phlebotomist, not a good micro internship. Yeah, you'd be shocked. But if it's on-site where they just need to be in the office because they're accessing physical document, okay, like I get it and it happens. You 100% can post. And sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, I get it. So let's talk for a second as we're winding down here on the subsidy that we're talking about providing, that we are providing for micro internships. So I'd love folks to take a look around their desk at the moment or scan their to-do list. I call these kinds of projects, you said the we should, I shouldn't. I like to call them the things on the corner of my desk, right? So if I look around my desk, I got a few things that have just been sitting there for a little while that just aren't going to move because, you know, I'm just got other things going on. So everybody's got one of these or a couple of these, maybe many of these in their company, on their desk, on their to-do list. And so we'd love you to try out this resource by posting an opportunity, a project, and then the Greater Akron Chamber is going to pick up the first $250 of your first micro internship to try this out, because we are committed to giving these students opportunities, but also helping all of you as employers, members, of getting the opportunity to try out this different kind of way of getting work done for your company.
And again, these are just a few examples on the portal. We tried to pick some of the most plain vanilla all the time. You are not limited to these with the Greater Akron Chamber subsidy. We're just, again, trying to provide some examples. If you have questions, if there's other ideas you have that you don't see here, feel free to use the form, or on the Parker Dewey website itself, we have literally hundreds of other examples. So we're happy to help.
And I just want to, it's possible somebody will look at this webinar in the year 2025. We might be out of money to support these micro-internships. So, but I think we have funds now. We're planning on literally supporting hundreds of them. And so we want folks to try this out, check it out, sign up for it, and we will work to help make sure you're getting the help you need to make this happen in your business. So.
And I love your corner of the desk comment. This is
Yeah.
what's sitting on the corner of my desk. Maybe I need to post a couple more micro-internships before I leave.
Yeah,
I am still, like, again, we're not the biggest user anymore, but everyone at Parker Dewey, we use them. Whether it's me for projects that come up, our marketing team, our sales team uses micro-internships to help with business development. Let's go identify companies that could be prospects and pull the right contact information. Marketing team is always using it for social media and content creation. We need help writing articles. The university relations team is using it to help with the student success stories. So we are huge users of it.
Yep. Well, and I think, so I think once you try this out, you're going to find many, many other opportunities for these micro-internships. So we encourage you to do that. It's a great way for you to get some stuff done, and a great way for you to give a student an experience they wouldn't otherwise maybe have. And really, you know, that's what we're here to do, is to make life a little bit easier for you. So Jeffrey Moss, Parker Dewey, thank you for all the work that you're doing, the partnership that we have with you. Again, the portal is pretty easy to find in the chat. We've got the link there, but again, for those of you who might not be looking at the chat, it's info.parkerdewey, parkerdewey.com/Akron. And that will take you right to the spot where you can put your information in about what you want to post. So with that, hopefully, if you've got questions, again, shoot us an email. You can send a message as well to, you can go to the link, or you can send a message to John Rizzo at the Greater Akron Chamber, at jrizzo@greaterakronchamber.org as well. And we will make sure you get the help you need. Jeffrey, again, thank you. And we appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. Such an honor and pleasure to collaborate with you, and love seeing this kind of innovation coming out of the local chambers. So thank you.
Appreciate that.